You want me to go over? Oh, you gotta get tight.
I gotta get it. Well, I'm looking at myself. So
right.
I mean, you got all the sound right now, play.
I feel like I'm over to the left. Oh, I can't. Oh, I can only see half the screen. I feel like I'm off the screen. I know, but your knee is
all I need to do is talk.
Slide over.
All I need to do is talk Scrum. We're back with another short, and we're talking to my man Vern about being a Scrum Master. So tell the people what a Scrum Master is.
So how we build things forever, right? There's always some kind of process that goes with that. There's people that manage that process all the time. They continuously manage that. They was doing it for houses, now they do it for technology. So there's still people that need to manage it. I don't get my hands dirty, but I manage the process. That's what I do all day.
So you're the middleman, you coordinate.
I coordinate, a lot of coordination, a lot of talking to people, coordinating, following up. I do a lot of that all day.
Okay. So is Scrum an acronym for something, or is it just a title for something?
No, so Scrum is, where they throw the ball back. What is it called? Rugby, yeah. It's inside of rugby. On it. It's inside of rugby. So when they get together like this and they got the ball in the middle, that's actually called a scrum. And they're working together to move the ball.
Okay.
So that's what I produce. I get together people to work together to build the software to move the ball, which is delivering the product back to the customer.
Man, knows his work.
I've been doing it for a little while.
All right, so how does somebody get started in Scrum? Like, what are the emphasis stages before you get to that?
Yeah, so there's a big piece of personality that goes into it. You got to kind of be a little bit outgoing, charismatic, because you're working with different style people. So it's good to be able to be worldly at least, just get your mindset around that. That's a good way to go into it. But then it's certifications. Complete certification. You don't need to go to school necessarily, but you get a lot of certs. Taking 2, 3, 4-day classes, get those certifications, and apply to a junior job, and you can get in.
So what is like a first class that you're taking? Is it in tech, or is it like?
It's in project management. So how we manage the project is in that. Okay. So you'll basically get like a Scrum Master certification. Okay. You can start off the bat with getting a Scrum Master certification, straight up. Okay. A couple $1,000s to get it. Actually, not even that. You can get it for cheap, real cheap. Talking about maybe $5,000 to $1,000 for a class. Go in person or take it remote. Now we're in a remote environment. You can take it remote.
And what kind of money are you? So I get the Scrum certification.
Yeah.
Now I get my first job. What am I looking at?
You new. I mean, you fresh.
Yeah, fresh. Yeah.
So you may be at like 40, 50.
Okay,
something like that.
Job,
first job. Job. But account for that though. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like I wouldn't say push too much to 50. If they give you 40, walk in the door.
Yeah.
I mean, because that's another big piece of it and how I learned a lot. I started real young by not knowing anything. I didn't know anything at all, and I got the job that paid me lower money. And then I had a mentor that was there and helped me along the way. Okay. So I was actively in the job, and then I got a mentor. Pitching stuff back and forth and stuff like that. Started reading a lot and then started just elevating.
Okay. So as you move along, what are some of the companies you're working for that you have worked for? Mm-hmm. I mean, tell us a little bit about your story.
Yeah. So when I first got into Scrum, I started working at a small education company. Okay. So they were small. They were then bought out by a big conglomerate education company in the UK.
So what were you dealing with the streaming company?
So their development teams. So their development teams are either on site. I think there's one here in New York. They're on site and they're developing the code so the streaming app can continuously be up and running, no issues, and they're adding new features to it. They're continuously adding new stuff to it, new shows, all that kind of stuff. And sometimes the stuff be breaking. Sometimes it works perfectly. But I'm there to manage the process to make sure they continuously have a good product.
So you're talking to each team, like, yo, how are we looking over here? How are we looking over here?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what you're doing.
Yeah, a lot of coordination between teams, but mostly, so the Scrum Master typically stays with like 1 to 2 teams, generally speaking. That's a lot of work. When you start working with teams directly like that and you like kind of start honing in on Scrum Mastery, 1 to 2 teams is probably the max you can handle. So what I do now is I'm an Agile coach where I have Scrum Masters under me and I coach them to be Scrum Masters to their teams.
Okay.
Yeah, so, because I've been doing that for a while now.
So, is that in addition to being to your actual job? Or is
that just comes with me, maturity and experience.
Okay.
So, yeah, I don't work directly with teams now. I'm not a Scrum Master anymore.
Okay.
I've kind of like matured, worked a lot, got a lot of experience and stuff like that. So I've kind of like moved up the scale to what you call like an agile coach.
Okay.
So like a Scrum Mastery coach.
Okay.
So I coach all the Scrum Masters. I'm kind of like, helping them with their teams now.
All right.
Yeah.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but in addition to working for a company, you can also, like you said, coach other people on how to get certified and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Extra money on the side.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I own a small coaching, training, consulting business where if the government wants to call, or if some of these large companies want to call and they need training, they want to train their people,
Yeah.
I'll go out there and actually train them. So I'm either in person or we're doing a remote, and I'm training them, and they'll take a certifying class to become Scrum Masters. So I'm training everybody to become that now.
All right, let's talk numbers real quick. People like numbers, so
People like
for
numbers.
these classes, what are we talking? Like, what are they paying? What are you making? How long are these classes?
Yeah. So the classes typically are 2 days. They're 2 day classes, typically like weekend classes.
Okay.
They'd end up paying anywhere from like $500 to $1,200 for the class themselves to eventually get certified.
Okay.
So I typically teach a class. Let's say I teach a class of 20 people, and they're all paying $1,000. So I'm making straight 20 grand.
20 grand.
20 grand just teaching the class.
So initial investment was a couple thousand, maybe, to get certified.
Yeah, a couple thousand.
After a while, you're making $20,000 on a weekend.
Yeah.
Potentially making $20,000.
Right. I mean, it's good to get experience in that, but you can definitely do that. That is a clean track. I mean, that's exactly what I did.
Yeah. Okay. So being a Scrum Master for a company, what kind of numbers? You don't got to tell your number. What kind of numbers are people making being a Scrum Master with X amount of 10 years experience?
The one thing to kind of keep in mind when it comes to any industry, it doesn't matter if it's this one or another one, is you do need experience.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just, you need to know how to do the job. You know what I mean? So you'll get your cert and you may be able to walk in the door, let's just say at 40. As you begin to gain years, you can start adding on, and I would say each time you get a new job, you'd be adding on $10,000 to $15,000 every time. So you're walking in the door at, let's say 40. You spend 2 years there, you can then ask for, you could go up to like 55, 60. Because you could jump that high. Because look, I worked at this big company or something like that. After that, then it's time for you to get more experience. This is when I think it matters what market you're in. Because you can't ask for like DC money and you live in like Wyoming somewhere. Yeah. You know what I mean? It just don't work. So you got to look at where your demographics are, like where you want to locate and live at. But there's Scrum Masters in DC making 100. I would say even some that have elevated and now are at like 150.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's not including the money on the side.
Not including the money on the side.
Okay.
Yeah.
How do you like to spend your extra money, bro? All right, man. Well, thank you for your time. This is another edition of Behind the Process. How to get that money, Scrum Mastery in the tech field. Vernon Carter. How can people reach out to you?
So I'll host classes. I do host classes. You have to look on a specific website, and then you can go in there and sign up and try to take some of the classes.
The link will be in the bio.